Hey everyone, it's Kathy the Vegan Prepper, and today we are grinding up some sprouted red wheat to make the best sourdough bread in the history of all bread. Let's get right into it. Vegan Prepper. Vegan Prepper. Okay, so here is the most recent batch of sprouted hard red wheat that I have made. So the jar was full. I just recently made another batch of sourdough bread, and it usually uses up about half of a gallon jar each time. And my family has decided that they prefer this bread to any other bread, and they are very smart because it's delicious. It makes a rustic loaf. The sprouting of the wheat makes it almost like a sweet bread without ever adding sugar or anything to it. It's just so delicious, and I can't wait to show you exactly how to do this process. So I have a Country Living grain mill. This is what I purchased last year with some of our stimulus money. I was wanting one for so long, and I finally got one. So I'm very happy with it. It's been serving us very well. I love this thing so much. Like many preppers, I used stimulus money to try to further some of our kind of bigger ticket preps, and this is one of the things that I got. So I purposely chose one that's hand powered so that you don't have to worry about running out of power or gas or whatever. You can still use it. And also it is possible to set it up here via, you know, some sort of like a rubber gasket system with either like a gas stove, or some people hook them up to bikes even, and you can still power it that way. So there's actually many options here. It can be run by power, or it can be run just with your own amazingly beefy arms, which you will get after a while of using this thing. And please forgive a little bit of this mess back here. We've got birthdays coming up. I'm weaving dishcloths. I'm doing stuff for people, and so I can't have to put everything away before I do a video, or it would never get made. So please give me some grace on that. But all that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the actual grinding, because I've got a sourdough starter here, which is very active and very much, very ready to make some bread. All right, one thing I did not mention is my little setup I have here. So basically what we've got is 2 pieces of a super tiny vegetable steamer basket, which I just put underneath a bread pan. So you'll see once I start grinding that the flour comes out. This entire part of the machine puts flour out. So you need a container that's shaped kind of rectangularly. And then the higher it is, the less you get spilling out over this side. So that's why I put it up as high as possible. And for me personally, I find a bread pan is pretty perfect also, because when this gets pretty full, that's usually about half the flour I need for my batch of 2 loaves. And I end up actually usually doing 2 hoppers full of the grain, and that's pretty much the perfect amount. But let's go ahead and actually get grinding now that I've talked about my setup. Okay, sorry if this is a major repeat of information, but the hard grains like hard red wheat, hard white wheat are actually harder to grind in the grinder. So you're going to get more of a workout when you're grinding those grains. However, they grind a lot faster. Softer grains like soft white wheat, which is what whole wheat pastry flour is made out of. So if you do soft red wheat or soft white wheat, that ends up forming a flour that's more appropriate for muffins and cookies and cakes and things like that. Or like spelt is in there as well. Those grains are softer, they're easier to grind, but they take absolutely forever to create a flour. So as far as an on-demand flour that you'll be using for your baked goods, it's probably going to be basically only in this hard grain category. Like if your desire is to grind it fresh every time right before you use it, I would not be doing that or planning to do that with the soft grains because it takes a lot longer to grind the flour. This is probably going to take maybe 15 or 20 minutes total to grind everything that I need for my bread. If not, gosh, if not even less time than that. So one other thing, it's a tip I got from Heidi over at Rain Country. She has some absolutely excellent grain grinding videos, which I heartily recommend. Her tip is to do so many rotations, one direction with your hand like this, and then flip your hand over, do that same amount of rotations, and then switch arms, do that same amount of rotations, and then switch your hand position again and do the rotations. And then that way you end up getting a full arm workout. So this is pretty awesome, actually. It really is exercise. The more, like, I am working with a personal trainer now and working on my eating, of course, but the more I do things like this, the more I'm like, oh yeah, because like today in modern times, people have to like make time to work out. But you know, back in the day, people would just used to just go out and work. Like life was exercise. And so the more I fold this stuff into my life, the more I find myself enjoying it. And also like I feel myself getting stronger. It's just like a added benefit. So like, why on earth would you do this if you can just buy flour at the store? Well, it's like, I can't buy this flour at the store. And it's so much healthier in so many ways, pre-digested, easier on the digestive tract. I mean, gosh, there's so many benefits. That could be a whole video in and of itself. But anyway, let me go ahead and stop talking and actually get to the grinding. Okay, so the first hopper is pretty much empty and I've got a relatively full bread pan. At least it's kind of like too full for more flour to be going in. So I'll go ahead and measure some of this out. I'm aiming for about 6.5, maybe 7 cups of flour. So let me actually count this time, because in the last take, I lost count. So that's 2. This is a half cup. 3, 4, 5, okay, 6. So that is almost perfectly 3 cups of flour. So I'll fill the hopper and go again. Okay, oh my gosh, I absolutely worked up a sweat. I actually just spilled water on myself. That's not all sweat, but that is a workout for sure. But let's go ahead and measure the next batch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish again, and then I'll give just like a little extra, but typically it's 6.5 cups is what I use for my bread. And then this I will use for dusting the cutting board when I'm shaping and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, so for now, I get my starter in here, and I'm going to go ahead and just do the process of making bread. I do already have a video on my sourdough, where I'm like, okay, hold on. Okay, I do already have a video on my sourdough bread process. And so I won't go through that, but I will go ahead and come back and show you guys what the finished bread looks like. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, I have to just show this really fast though. I have never seen my sourdough starter this active. Oh yeah, there it goes. It's look at that. It's like bubbling. So there's something about the sprouted wheat that makes it more active. And I have read that before, but it's interesting to actually see it. Also, this happened way faster than it normally does. The forming of the sponge, which I'm gonna add to my bread. So it's kind of interesting, which is why I had to like kind of hurry and get this all done, because this happened so fast. I wasn't planning on doing this quite yet, but here we are. And so it's interesting because obviously this takes way more time on the front end. Like between the sprouting it and the dehydrating it and then the grinding it and everything. But then when you go to make your bread, it's like really fast. So why would I not grind this and store it for later? I guess is probably a question that some people will have. I'm just gonna keep filming this because this is fascinating to me, but I'm gonna keep talking. Basically the gist is the berries themselves, the wheat berries will last for a very long time in their whole form, but as soon as they're ground, they begin to decay very quickly, which is why whole wheat berries will last you 20 to 30 years if you store them properly, but whole wheat flour doesn't last much longer than 6 months. So with your homemade sprouted grain flours, it's even less time. There's just something about the activity of the wheat and all of that. So your fresh ground, even if it's not sprouted, it just doesn't last very long. It's maybe 3-4 days at most. You get freshness out of your homemade fresh ground flour. I don't know what it is about the commercial process that makes theirs last longer. This is just what I've heard, and this is what I am relaying to you. If anybody knows what the difference is, please feel free to let us know down in the comments. But basically what you can do though, if you'd really like to have some ground and then have it on hand so that you don't have to go through the grinding process every time. Oh my gosh, it's just bubbling away. It's so cool to me. But anyway, if you don't want to have to go through this process every single time, what you can do is grind it and then stick it in the freezer. And then what that does for the bacterial activity and how quickly it will rise and how quickly your bread will go through its process, I don't know, because I haven't tried grinding a large amount and freezing it before, although that is definitely something I'm going to be considering doing. But probably once I get more of a setup that's like not powered by me, you know, because I can't imagine trying to grind a huge jar of flour all in one sitting. Like this is enough of a job, at least for now at my current fitness level. Obviously, as I get stronger, this is going to be less and less of a big deal. But yeah, it's just really interesting to me how active this is. And I just have never seen that before. I mean, I see the bubbles, but I haven't seen like the blub, 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 blub action in my starter before. But yeah, it's working out really great. And then also for anyone who is curious, a lot of people say you need to sift this to get rid of the germ and the bran. Like if you look, even just looking at my finger, you can see this is a pretty coarse flour, but I love it. It ends up being almost like a bread that has cornmeal in it, which I find that I just am delighted in. I love the rustic texture, and my family does as well. They absolutely love this bread. So I'm gonna go ahead and get actually started on this process, and then for real, I will come back and just show you the finished bread. Oh my gosh, here they are. We need so many close-up shots of this gorgeousness. You can see some of like these white chunks in there. That's where some of the flour wasn't quite as finely ground. But look at that. There's plenty of stretchy gluten action happening. You can see that it did rise very well. It's still a yummy, delicious, amazing bread. It will be rustic. but we don't care. We're gonna eat it. Actually, we love that it's rustic. So let's go ahead and chop into one of these and see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and chop into this one because this one looks like it got the biggest. It's like, listen. I don't know if you can hear the crumbly crust sound, but it's amazing. We typically, when I do a big round loaf like this, which is actually honestly how I cook most of our bread, I go ahead and I slice it in half, and then our slices will be, oh, did that totally unevenly. Our slices will end up being from here. So then I chop here, and that's the slices that we get. But look at that gorgeous crumb. It is definitely not quite as risen or quite as large as you would expect from, you know, store-bought flour, but oh my gosh, it's incredible. And none of us are complaining about it. It tastes amazing. Oh yeah, this is so good. All right, hopefully it was helpful and fun to see the entire process of grinding the wheat and making a loaf, which I did not, you know, make a loaf in the video, but I do have a video and I will link that down below, like I said before. But this is a beautiful loaf in my opinion. All of the sourdough loaves that I make are 100% whole grain. So I am never getting breads that are like super, like a little half moon or something like some people get when they're using the white flours. My breads are always just a little flat, and that's just sort of what you get when you have a whole meal, completely 100% wholemeal loaf. But I think especially for a wholemeal loaf, this is beautiful. Not to mention the fact that it was all the home ground flour as well, which people say you have to sift, you don't get a good loaf, you don't get a good rise, and it's like, I think that that's not 100% true. So at least it doesn't seem to play out that way for me. But if you have any questions about the process, hopefully that I can answer, or if you have any requests for specific videos or whatever, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you and to make content that you want to see. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. See you in the next video. Bye. Super quick extra tidbit for you guys. The Dutch oven, which does such a great job sealing and keeping moisture in the oven, also does its job masterfully on the counter as a bread box for your finished loaf. I only can fit one at a time. But there you go. That's how I store my loaf. Once I cut into it, it stays in here until we go through it, and then the second one will go ahead and hop right in there. Obviously, once it's cool. So there you go. Happy baking.